The wind on the ferry deck swept in sharp, salty gusts, tugging at people's clothes and scattering the cries of distant gulls across the open sea. It was the kind of wind that usually made tourists laugh and hold their hats, but today, it felt strangely soothing to Adam Hale. He stood near the railing with both hands tucked into the pockets of his coat, watching streaks of sunlight slip across the water like wandering threads of gold. He had come alone. No assistant, no board members, no buzzing phone. Just him, the sea, and the faint hope that the endless horizon might give him something he hadn't felt in too long. Quiet. Real quiet. Not the quiet of a corner office or a muted conference room, but the kind that lives in open air, in moving waves, in the simple knowledge that for a moment, no one needed him. He exhaled slowly. It was strange how a man who led thousands of employees couldn't manage the chaos inside his own mind. Success had been loud. Expectations were louder. Lately, even breathing felt like another item on his to-do list. He was so lost in that swirl of thoughts that he didn't notice the soft sound of small wheels approaching behind him on the deck's uneven floor. The ferry bobbed gently, and the cold breeze pushed a loose piece of hair across his forehead. He lifted his hand to brush it away. "Sir, can you lift me up to see the sky?" The voice was light, almost carried away by the wind before it reached him, but the words cut through everything around him instantly. Adam turned. Standing behind him was a girl, 8, maybe 9, with thin arms resting on the sides of a wheelchair too large for her petite frame. Her sweater was worn at the elbows, her hair tied into uneven ponytails, and yet her eyes, they were the clearest thing he had seen in months. Bright, round, and full of something he had almost forgotten existed, hope untouched by fear. Beside her stood a young mother, her hand gently gripping the wheelchair handles. She looked tired in a way that didn't come from lack of sleep but from life itself, eyes soft, shoulders heavy, expression apologetic as if she regretted letting her daughter ask such a thing. Adam half crouched, bending to meet the girl's height. "You want to see the sky?" he asked quietly, as if speaking too loudly might break something fragile. She nodded eagerly. "From up high." A small smile formed. "It feels bigger that way, like I'm not stuck in this chair. Like I'm just, like other kids." The honesty in her voice was so pure that it drifted straight into him before he could put up any of his usual walls. There wasn't an ounce of self-pity in her words, only longing. A longing that shouldn't belong to someone so young. "I can help with that," he said softly. The mother stepped forward, raising her hands as if unsure whether to stop him. "I'm so sorry," she began, her voice full of embarrassment. "She loves the sky. I told her not to disturb anyone." "She's not disturbing me," Adam said gently. He slid his arms under the girl with a care that surprised even him. She was lighter than he expected, too light, and she giggled as he lifted her high enough for her head to rise above the railing. Her small hand stretched toward the sky like she could scoop the clouds into her palms. The ferry swayed again, but Adam held her steady, feeling a kind of protectiveness he hadn't felt in years. The girl's laughter drifted into the air like chimes. "It looks so close," she whispered. "Like if I jump, maybe I can touch it." "Maybe the sky comes closer when someone brave reaches for it," he said. She turned her head and gave him a smile so bright that it warmed his chest through the cold wind. He couldn't remember the last time he had smiled like this, naturally, without thinking, without effort. The mother wiped the corner of her eyes discreetly, not wanting him to see. But he did. And he knew that wasn't sadness. It was something else, relief, gratitude, maybe even the joy of watching her child feel alive. "What's your name?" Adam asked as he slowly lowered the girl back into her chair. "Myra," she said, lifting her chin proudly. "Mom says I'm named after a star." "A beautiful name," he replied. "Stars deserve to see the sky from the best view." Myra beamed, adjusting the blanket on her lap. "Sir, can I ask something?" "Anything," he said. She leaned in as if sharing a secret. "Did you come up here to see the sky too?" Adam paused, surprised by how gently the question hit him. "I came up here to breathe," he admitted. "Is breathing hard for adults?" she asked with innocent curiosity. He laughed softly, really laughed. "Sometimes it is." "You should look at the sky more," Myra said, as if giving him the simplest, most obvious answer in the world. "It tells you things without talking." Her mother bit her lip to hide a smile. "She says that all the time." "And she's right," Adam replied. For a long moment, they simply stood there, three strangers sharing a small corner of peace on a ferry deck, surrounded by wind and water and an endless sky. The kind of moment so unexpected, so gentle, that it leaves a mark without trying. Adam turned toward the sea again, but this time he didn't feel alone. Myra was beside him, pointing out shapes in the clouds and telling him how every one of them looked like something different: a castle, a bird, a giant pillow floating above the world. Her mother stood close, watching them both, her shoulders slowly relaxing as if someone had lifted a weight off them. "You know," Myra said suddenly, "people always look down. At the water, at their feet, at their phones. But if they look up more, maybe they'll feel lighter." Adam looked up. Just sky. Simple, soft, endless. "You might be the wisest person I've met, Myra," he said quietly. She shrugged as if it wasn't a compliment but a fact. "Mom says I see with my heart more than my eyes. Maybe that's why I don't mind the chair." The wind slowed for a moment, as if giving space for her words to rest gently between them. Adam turned to her mother. "Thank you for coming here today," he said softly. "I didn't know I needed this." Her eyes glistened. "You helped her. That's enough." "No," he replied, shaking his head. "She helped me." The clouds parted then, as if on cue, sending warm sunlight spilling across the deck and illuminating Myra's face. She lifted her arms again, not to touch the sky this time, but simply to feel the warmth. Adam watched her, a quiet realization settling into him. Maybe the universe doesn't care about titles. Maybe it doesn't reward the busiest or the richest. Maybe sometimes, it simply puts the right people in front of you on an ordinary day, to remind you what matters. And as the ferry continued its steady journey across the glittering water, Adam felt something he hadn't felt in a long, long time. He felt present. He felt alive. He felt changed. But most of all, he felt this moment was not meant to end here. Something was beginning. Something gentle, steady, and deeply human. Something he didn't want to walk away from. The ferry began slowing its pace, the hum of the engine softening as the coastline came into clearer view. People around them adjusted bags, fixed jackets, and prepared to disembark, but Adam hardly noticed any of it. He stayed right beside Myra's wheelchair, feeling an unexpected calm settle inside him. It was the kind of quiet that didn't come from being alone, but from being in the presence of people who made the world feel softer. Myra tapped his wrist with her tiny fingers. "Sir," she said, tilting her head with the same innocent seriousness she had on the deck, "do you think the sky remembers me tomorrow?" Adam felt something warm move through him at the question. No business presentation, no award stage, no executive meeting had ever given him a moment like this. "I think," he said gently, "the sky remembers everyone who looks at it with hope. And you look at it like it's a friend." Myra smiled, satisfied with his answer, as if she'd simply needed someone to confirm what she already believed. Her mother stood behind her, tightening the straps of the small backpack hanging from her shoulder. Up close, Adam could see the strain on her face, subtle but unmistakable. She looked like someone who had learned to be strong without choosing to be. "She hasn't asked anything like that in months," the mother said quietly, almost in surprise. After the accident, she stopped talking about the sky. She stopped asking to be lifted higher. She used to stretch her arms out every morning, but then everything changed. Adam didn't pry, not because he wasn't curious, but because he sensed she didn't need to revisit pain to feel understood. He simply nodded and leaned closer to Myra. "You know," he said softly, "some people spend their whole lives chasing a moment that feels free. But you found it today." Myra giggled. "Because you helped me fly." The ferry horn sounded, loud but oddly peaceful, pulling them all into the present moment. Crew members called instructions. Footsteps shuffled. Children pointed at the approaching shoreline. Yet, in the middle of that motion, Adam felt anchored right where he stood. The mother glanced toward the ramp where passengers were lining up. "We should get ready to go," she said, though her voice held a hint of hesitation. Almost like she didn't want the moment with Adam to end either. He looked at the worn straps of the backpack again, at her tired eyes, at Myra's eager but fragile excitement. Compassion stirred in him, not out of pity, but out of a feeling he hadn't been familiar with in a long time, wanting to be there for someone without needing anything in return. "If you don't mind me asking," he said gently, "where are you headed from here?" "The Children's Rehab Center," she replied. "It's a long bus ride from the port. She has therapy today." She brushed a hand over Myra's hair, smoothing the wind's mess. "But she doesn't mind the trips as long as we talk about the sky on the way." Myra nodded vigorously. "I'm going to draw it when we get home. Mom says I'm getting better at drawing clouds." Adam smiled at her enthusiasm. I'd like to see your drawing someday. Her eyes widened. Really? Really? The mother looked surprised, almost caught off guard. You don't have to. I want to, he interrupted softly. They reached the ferry ramp which tilted toward the dock where sunlight shimmered across the pavement. People streamed past, but Adam remained beside the wheelchair as they moved slowly forward. The moment felt fragile, one of those rare connections that happens unexpectedly and begs to be held onto instead of forgotten. He hesitated only briefly before speaking again. If you'd allow me, I'd like to help you both. Not out of charity or pity, he added quickly, sensing the mother's instinctive resistance. Out of respect for the little girl who reminded me what peace feels like. The mother blinked, stunned. Help. Her voice was barely above a whisper. But you don't even know us. He offered a gentle smile. I know enough. Myra reached out and touched the cuff of his sleeve, her small fingers curling around the fabric. Will you see the sky with us again? The question hit him deeper than he expected. He swallowed the tightness in his throat. If you want me to, he said. Her mother exhaled shakily, not from fear but from the unexpected softness of the moment. You're a kind man, sir. I'm just someone who needed today as much as you think she did, he replied. They moved down the ramp, the wheel of Myra's chair bumping softly over the metal ridges. The ocean breeze lingered on their clothes, carrying the salt and sunlight with them as they reached the open dock. The mother paused to adjust Myra's blanket again. A habit, maybe, or just a way to steady herself. We take the number 14 bus, she said quietly. It's a bit of a walk. Let me walk with you, Adam said immediately. She hesitated, searching for the right reply. But Myra made the decision simple by grasping his hand again. Come with us, she chirped. You walk faster than Mom. We'll reach quicker. Her mother laughed softly, shaking her head but smiling. She's persuasive. Adam chuckled. Yes, she is. So they walked together, through the dock, past vendors selling snacks, past families taking pictures, past everything that usually would have pulled his attention away. But today, nothing distracted him. Every step felt grounded, purposeful. Myra pointed out boats, birds, a cloud shaped like a sleeping cat, a man selling cotton candy that looked like pink sky fluff. She talked, and he listened, and the mother watched the two of them with a quiet expression, one that carried both gratitude and relief. At the bus stop, they paused. The sun was warm now, sitting low enough to touch the tops of buildings with gold. Myra leaned her head against her mother's arm, content and peaceful. Sir, she said sleepily, don't forget the sky remembers people. I won't forget, he promised. And you remember us too. Adam knelt down in front of her as the bus approached. I don't think I could forget you even if I tried. Her mother's eyes glistened again, but she didn't wipe the tears this time. She let them fall softly, quiet tears, the kind that appear when life surprises you with goodness. Before they boarded, Adam spoke once more, carefully, sincerely. If it's all right, I'd like to join you two again someday, on another ferry ride, or anywhere the sky feels close. The mother nodded, slowly, thoughtfully, meaningfully. We'd like that. The bus doors opened with a hiss. He helped lift Myra's wheelchair onto the ramp, securing it gently. She waved at him through the window, her smile wide enough to reach him even after she disappeared inside. As the bus pulled away, Adam stood there on the pavement, watching until it turned around the corner. The wind moved softly past him, almost like a whisper. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a CEO standing alone. He felt like a man who had just stepped into the beginning of something pure, human, and lasting. A new connection. A new purpose. A new path he was suddenly eager to follow. And when he finally lifted his gaze to the sky, open, endless, welcoming, he understood Myra's truth completely. Some people don't enter your life for a moment. They enter as the start of a new chapter. And his had just begun.